Hi everybody, welcome back to the studio. Hope you're all well. Welcome to all my new subscribers and my new Patreon members. Thank you very much for supporting the channel. I hope you enjoyed the the final Regency Gent episode that we did. And today we are going back about another 100 years. So we're going to go back to the 17th century. I've got a fabulous portrait that's attributed to the artist John Ryley, who was kicking around in the 1650s and 1640s. And this painting is in for a clean, and I think there may well be some retouching and restoration work that's required as well. So without further ado, let's meet our next patient. Okay, let's go. And here he is. So this is our late 17th century 3/4 length portrait. We've got some information on the back of the canvas of who may have painted this and who it's of. Well, very roughly who it's of. This is the condition that it's arrived in, so you can see quite a yellowed varnish on the face there. We've got some marks and knocks and bangs to the portrait. And already I can see, just from viewing it, that there's retouchings on the edge of the canvas there. You can see to the left. This hand is noted in the label, but does look a little odd. And again, we've got this other clue, Hippoc, for Hippocrates. So this references this is a portrait of a doctor, which we have got on this label. John Ryley, certain stiffness in painting and hands may have been repainting. Value £1,000. And we've got this stretcher bar mark, probably from the liner who relined it, and that says J. Cooling, and maybe a catalogue or auction number there as well. The stretcher's really nicely made, so whenever this was relined, it was a good job, well done. But again, on the edges here, you can see filler that's obviously been overpainted and may have been removed at some point. That's where the canvas is laid on the stretcher bar and been retouched. It's a very thick, glossy varnish over the whole painting. Hi everybody, just a quick message from me to say thank you for supporting the channel, those that do. I've done a little bit of maths, and to make this work I need more Patreons. I need more people to be supporting the channel so I can do more restorations, more videos, more exciting content. So instead of just me saying why come and follow me on Patreon, let me show you why. Early access videos, ad-free, at least 3 days before they go on YouTube. I'm going to be answering all questions now on Patreon, one-to-one. Get in touch, ask me what you like. I'm going to be doing some exclusive restorations that won't be on YouTube for at least 6 months. I've got some great paintings coming in. Live Q&A once a month. I'm scared, but I'm going to do it. And I've already got behind the scenes content, what's going on in the studio. Also, merch. I'm going to get some merch. Fun stuff. I love fun. And giveaways. Might be a painting, might be some tools, might be some merchandise. 400 Patreons. I'm going to do a random giveaway. I've been working on some merch and I've got these wonderful aprons. Bloomfield art aprons. See that there? So 400 patrons. As soon as I get there, we'll do a random call and we'll see who gets this excellent Bloomfield art restoration apron. Okay, so that's why I think you should join Patreon. If you head over there now, we've got some of your favourite episodes, Harriet Nichols, Henriette, the Regency Gents all up there. I've got behind the scenes footage up there. So come and join me on Patreon, join the community, and let's do some great videos. Okay guys, let's get back to it. So now we'll have a look with the UV black light and see what shows up. So we've got little bits of retouching there on the cheek and in his lips there. That shows up darker. So any overpaint or historical retouchings that are quite fresh will show up under the UV light. So it's at the bottom, it's at the side, it's on his gloves. Basically the whole painting has been restored or retouched at some point. I've done my first test window there with my go-to solution, and you can see on the left that it's removed the varnish quite well. But now I'm just double checking with a different solution, a very weak solution, just to see if there is any gains to be had from a different mixture. It's not making too much of a difference there. So again, just increasing the strength of the mixture and finding the less strong mixture that will have the best impact. And this is it here. You can see the varnish removing there and taking us back to that base level of the paint. So a much larger swab now, which will carry much more solution, and you can see straight away there the varnish removing, saturating the swab, and then just revealing that colour of that cravat straight away, which is very kind of cool, crisp grey and white. So these are the stronger pigments, which I always start with. The softer pigments are more susceptible to removal, such as the browns and earth tones. So I always start with either the whites, or if not whites, the blues of a sky, of a landscape painting. But here you can see as I'm removing the varnish, the small areas of dark ground showing through, and a little bit of crackle there at the bottom. This will be where the painting has dried over time and started to separate and create those little fissures. So I'm just going to take that same mixture down now to the cuffs of his shirt, and again you can see that that solvent mixture is just removing nicely the varnish and leaving the original paint layer intact. I've already started researching this project, and I've been looking at gloves in portraiture. So at the end of the 17th century, gloves were very fashionable. It dictated that you were of like a higher level in society, should we say. So a gloved hand was always kind of presented. But for gentlemen, the glove was removed when shaking hands, but this was seen as vulgar. So the ladies always kept their gloves on, and they had different kinds of leather gloves, from kid gloves to some called chicking gloves. And these were made from the leather of unborn calves to make sure that they were the softest leather you could get. So yeah, another little rabbit hole I went down that I wasn't expecting. So this gentleman, even though he's a doctor, he's presented himself, he's wearing the gloves to show that he has got status, but he's removing them to show that he's not working in those gloves. It's just a status symbol and a mark of his place in society. This black area though just seems to be overpainted. There is something going on with his hand, and that thumb looks a little bit awkward. So I'll be taking my time to look at that later on. And also as I'm cleaning, I'm checking the swab, because at some points on that blouse cuff there were elements of a darker pigment removal. So again, around that hand area I've got darker pigments that are removing, so again suggesting lots of overpaint on this portrait. So again, that crackle area is just coming through now, and that's the painting showing its age. And even before I started cleaning on that glove, you can see the overpaint there, and that's the darker pattern there on the top. So here you can see there again cracks that have been overpainted when this painting was relined, or if it's been cleaned since the relining process, they've been added on top. So they'll just remove straight away, and you can see that the swab now, instead of having the yellow tone from the varnish before, it's picking up that brown pigment now and discolouring slightly. So when a painting may well have been cleaned in the past, there'll be elements that the restorer has decided to push back. If the client wants a full restoration and no sign of age, which many do, especially dealers don't like to see cracks and crackle or anything that could be knocked by a buying customer, they'll ask the restorer to replace those and make it look in as good as condition as possible, which is great for the sale of the painting. But then down the line, 100 years, once that overpaint is discoloured, it's down to me to remove it and then see what we've got left underneath. That glove's got some nice detail in there. I like those highlights on the on the hand, so you can almost see what kind of glove that it was. Right, so I'm literally 20 minutes into this painting, and already I can see that it's massively overtouched in parts. There's the date on the back says 1984 and gives a rough value, and it's been relined. So it's either been cleaned around that time, maybe, because the overpaint is removing quite easily. It's quite sticky. Perhaps it was relined in the past, maybe 50 years ago, 100 years ago. And then maybe it's been cleaned more recently, and then that retouching's been added onto it since. So on his cravat area, a little bit sticky on the black area, especially around his glove. You can see there that on the glove part, where those ridges are and those creases are, we could see the retouching on there that are darkened, and that's coming off quite easily. But I think this painting has probably been restored to a high standard at some point. But there's going to be extensive retouching that's going to remove on there. So it's very sticky. You'll see my cotton swab is grabbing on there as well as I'm working. So it's just going to be one of those. I've got a very weak solution, and it's still lifting that varnish, and it's still lifting the historical overpaint. So it's going to be a tentative one, but I do envisage that we're going to get to a very old portrait underneath, and a very old portrait that has had quite a lot of work done to it. So buckle up, people. I think we're in for a bit of a ride with this one. Okay, let's carry on. So here's the detail of the glove after cleaning. You can see all those cracks that have revealed now with the overpaint removed. And then this area here, this black area. So a lot of the time when I'm cleaning, it's done by visual. I'm looking to see what's happening with my swab. But the bit that I can't really show you on camera is the way the the way the varnish grabs the swab. So at some points you know that you've cleaned the varnish off because the swab moves freely. So imagine, I don't know, like an ice skater on ice, and it's just gliding across the paint surface. But then sometimes, like here, you'll see that the cotton has been grabbed by the varnish and the overpaint, and then your swab really sticks and drags, and it's like walking through a muddy field. So there's lots of this is to do with touch and feel as well as the visual side of things. So what I'll do is I'll soften an area that will grab, and then I'll take my swab over an area that should have been cleaned, and I'll be able to tell the difference, and I'll know, right, that area is fully cleaned now, especially on dark pigments where you can't see the colour difference as well as on white. So I'll be able to move that freely, and you'll see that it's moving freely. But then when I come back to an area that's thick, like there at the top, you can see little particles there, and it just grabs. So that area just grabs the cotton swab, and it's really thick, so that'll need more solvents just to soften that varnish, and unfortunately the overpaint as well. So it does get quite sticky, and it does get quite messy, especially when there's an excess amount of overpaint on there. And these are the little areas why it's been overpainted. It might be a little scratch, it might be a little bit of a dent. This bit looks like it's got filler. I'm beginning to think this portrait may well have been rolled at some points. I've got lots of horizontal cracking along there. Normally the kind of cracks you get are from an impact, but this is quite widespread, so I do think it may well have been taken off its stretcher and rolled at some point for whatever reason, to transport it or to send it somewhere else or even to store it. But it has got an awful lot of these surface cracks that are raised as well, so during the lining process this may well have also been kind of amplified, especially if they were kind of dragging across the surface with an iron. So here you can see the dark ground coming through. So if this painting has dried out over time, those small cracks do form. So this side is the area that's been retouched that I haven't cleaned yet, and you can see it's solid. But as soon as I've cleaned that varnish off, you can see the colour tone change, and then you can see where the painting has dried and that crackle has formed. But they've done this across the whole painting, so I imagine large swathes of this painting will have been retouched to push back the age and make it look fresher than it was. So yeah, at this stage I normally get in touch with the clients and have a bit of a discussion with them, so just so they know and they're aware of what's going to happen. So as I'm removing it, we're going to get a very older looking portrait, and I've said that about 3 or 4 times now, but I'm going to get in touch with the client now and just kind of describe as best I can and show some photographs of where we're up to with this portrait, and then they're aware of how much work is going to be involved in this, because I've got a feeling now that the face, that hand for sure, I think a lot of this is going to just waltz off when we start cleaning it, and then we're going to be in a position where we're going to have to start putting things back again. So I'm just going to make them aware of how much work's involved, and we're going to have a bit of a discussion about that, and then we'll get back on him and see where we go from there. So a bit of a short one today. It's been a very busy few weeks in the studio, but hope you've enjoyed that little bit of a glimpse into what we're going to be doing this portrait. There'll be more cleaning next week. Please like and subscribe to the video if you haven't already. Just hit it now, like, done. Check out my Patreon page. The more Patreons I get, the more I can do this, the more often I can post. It'd be great to see you over there. I can answer some questions for you. And yeah, looks like we're in for another extensive restoration with this one. So take care, guys. I'll be in touch. Thanks for watching. Okay, cheers. Bye.